Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I got a 3-pack of rumors that I'm ready to crack open with the entire nation today. And the first story that we're going to talk about here is around Clelin Ferrell. Don't worry, we'll talk about Derek Carr here in a second, and then we'll also talk about Tyron Johnson as well. In terms of, are the Raiders trying to trade Clelin Ferrell right now? I talked to a source yesterday, and I'm going to give this one 4 just win babies because, believe it, baby, the Raiders are currently shopping Clelin Ferrell, and they are also listening to offers. Let me make this point very, very clear. This does not mean a trade will happen. Why? Because you have to have two sides that agree to a trade. The major issue is this. Teams don't want to take on Clelin's salary. The Raiders also believe that if it wasn't for his salary, he wouldn't be good enough to make the 53-man roster. I will say this, though. I'm a big believer Patrick Graham's system could be good for Clelin Ferrell. When you really go back and you look at a lot of the things that have stacked up against Cle, this is actually probably the best defensive scheme that he could be in that fits his necessities. Now, in terms of a trade, in terms of the whole contract situation going on around the Raiders' 4th overall pick back in the 2019 draft, if he's cut, the reason why his contract's so difficult is because usually when you draft somebody number 4 overall, you don't plan on him being as bad as what he's been. And considering the fact that Clelin Ferrell at number 4 overall has zero, let me say this again, 0 career starts, it's not great. It's one of the reasons why they declined his 5th-year option. If traded, the Raiders would save $4.77 million this upcoming season. Sure, you would have to eat $5.21 million, but if I can use that $4.77 million and I can invest it and I can put it towards going out and maybe getting another free agent, which we'll talk about here in a second, I'm on board for it. So what about this, y'all? If you want the Raiders to trade Clelin Ferrell, I want you to like the video right now. Does it break my heart to say this? Of course it does. Every person watching this show right now wants Clelin Ferrell to succeed. Every person wants Cle to play well, but you gave him a shot in 2019. You gave him a shot in 2020. You gave him a shot in 2021. I know this isn't baseball, but it's also 3 strikes, you're out. It has not been successful. So if you want the Raiders to trade Clelin Ferrell, like the video. In terms of a career, in 2021, only 14 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for a loss. I'm a big trends guy. When you see a player go from numbers at a certain point, and then year after year they start to dwindle, that usually is a reflection on that player. I will also say that in 2019, different DC. 2020, different defensive line coach. 2021, different DC. Personally, and I've gone on record and I've said this, Clelin Ferrell to me was by far his best in 2020. He was playing a little bit of a hybrid role between defensive end, defensive tackle, which his numbers from PFF definitely show that. A 76.1 overall grade according to PFF. That is well above average. Hell, that's almost great according to PFF. He was good against the run at 76.6 and then pass rushing grade of a 70.0. I'm a big believer the reason why he thrived here is because he was used in spurts. Yes, again, you don't draft somebody number 4 overall to play in spurts, but he was used correctly by Rod Marinelli, and he was used correctly in Paul Guenther's system. The reason why he struggled so much last season is because in Gus Bradley's scheme, you put a lot more pressure on your defensive linemen because you never blitz. And for that, that's why Cle really struggled. So, in terms of Patrick Graham's defense, I honestly believe if the Raiders keep Clelin Ferrell on their roster, which I believe that it's more likely than not that he is a Raider because, again, I don't know how many teams out there want to trade for him with his contract, but I believe that this Patrick Graham defense is going to be good. I like the idea that they're trying to make him an outside linebacker. I know he's been working hard this offseason. I've talked to some Raiders defensive linemen that say, watch out for Cle. Now, yes, that's their teammate, that's their guy, but he's also technically in a contract year. He's trying to fight for a new deal. He wants to show people that he can go out there and play. So for all those reasons, I want it to work. But at the end of the day, if a team comes calling and they're willing to take on his contract and they're willing to give you a good draft pick, you have to listen to it. In terms of what teams do I believe would be the most interested in Clelin Ferrell, the New England Patriots. As of last week, there was a New England Patriots beat writer that said New England and the Raiders are talking. I think it's more to do with their relationship and the head coaches have together. The Atlanta Falcons, a lot of Atlanta players are A lot of Raiders players are with the Falcons right now. Carolina, his connections with Clemson. Arizona, that's where Bretson Buckner right now is the defensive line coach. And then he works out of Miami, and a lot of his old Clemson teammates are on that Miami Dolphins roster. So, I don't have an exact team that would make a deal. But would you take this trade offer if it was on the table? Let's say you're sitting in GM Dave Ziegler's chair. You're sitting in head coach Josh McDaniels' chair right now, and an NFL team says, we will give you a 6th-round pick in 2023 for Clelin Ferrell. If you're watching this live, please go vote at the very, very top of the show. If you're not watching it live, it's all good. It's what the show's about here. Please interact with me down in the comments. Y for yes, or you can type N for no. Would you make this trade if the Raiders received Clelin Ferrell? I'm going to say yes, I would accept the trade if, and this is the if you invest that $4.77 million in going out and getting a defensive end. Do I think Ferrell's worth more than a 6th-round pick? Yes, I do. The issue is the contract. So you have to understand, if an NFL team is going to take on the deal, they're going to also not give you as much in return as a trade. If you're like, I don't want a 6th-round pick, I'd rather keep Clee. Well, fingers crossed, glass half full that it ends up working out. But if I can take that $4.77 million and sign a defensive end, because I'm telling y'all right now, I believe every single player that you're about to see on screen right now, all 8 of these guys, you could get for less than $4.77 million. I would take Trey Flowers. Give me Justin Houston. Carlos Dunlap last season, shit, he had 8.5 sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul's been a proven player. Carl Nassib, I mean, you can say what you want about Nassib, but Nassib was better than Clelin Ferrell. Everson Griffin, hell, give me some Benson Mayowa back in my life. I think you can honestly get like a combination of Benson Mayowa and get a combination of Everson Griffin for $4.77 million. Take the money that you save from trading Clee and invest it in some other areas. Now, I will say this. If the Raiders do end up trading Clelin Ferrell, if they make any trade, y'all, you know I'm going live. Not only do I go live every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. When there's big-time news, the Raiders Report has you covered. Not only will I be live on YouTube, I'm going to be live on Rumble. Shit, I am live on Rumble right now. So hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. And if you want to watch this show ad-free and listen to it like a podcast, that's what Rumble is all about. So, rumble.com/RaidersReport, youtube.com/RaidersReport. You know where to find me. Make sure you subscribe. That way you never miss any Raiders news. Let's go to the next story here on the Raiders Report. Derek Carr, does he feel disrespected? I know, strong words, but it's for just win, babies. Believe it, babies. So why is DC, the quarterback of the Raiders, man, why is he feeling disrespected? Well, DC met with the media to discuss his participation in a celebrity golf tournament on Monday. And I listened to the interview, and it sounded like Carr, and he was speaking for the team, and you know what? That's what your quarterback does. I'm all good with it. But he literally said that him and the team are carrying a chip on its shoulder. And why are they carrying a chip? Well, he was obviously asked, about the Raiders this season. He was asked about the AFC West going forward, and the fact that the Raiders are predicted to finish last in the AFC West, and the fact that nobody's talking about the Raiders. And he feels like with all the additions that this team has made, people are still talking about the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos. And when you look at the AFC West odds according to Vegas, Chiefs at plus 175, Chargers, Broncos 225, 250. And then in terms of odds, when all the odds are this close and there's one team at plus 700, you're right. The Raiders are simply not respected in that regard. And then in terms of other odds here for the Silver and Black, the win total, over-under is 8.5, so 1.5 games less than last year. Make the playoffs at plus 190. That means the odds are against them to make the playoffs. Win the AFC West, as we just mentioned. Win the AFC at plus 2,000. Win the Super Bowl at plus 4,000. Hell, there are 17 other teams in the NFL. 17. 1-7 that have a better chance, according to Vegas, at winning the Super Bowl than the Raiders. Now, that doesn't mean that they believe that they're the 17th best team, because what goes into account is the division, the schedule. But 17th best odds, to me, that seemed a little bit low when you really think about it from top to bottom. So what I'm curious about is this. DC feels disrespected, and he would probably answer this question with, disrespected. So the Raiders Report is built on the back of Raider Nation, being a diehard fan base, taking time out of their day on a random June afternoon to watch the show. Why? Because you're a diehard fan, and I appreciate you. So what is your one-word reaction right now to the Raiders being underdogs, to people sleeping on them, to Derek Carr having a chip on his shoulder? What is your one-word reaction? Let me know right now. My one-word reaction is good. Why is it good? It's good because this team has proven year in and year out, that when this team is an underdog, when this team, nobody believes in them, they show up. And games that they are expected to win, the Raiders, for whatever reason, they end up struggling. And it's a very frustrating thing, there's no doubt about it, but they play better when nobody thinks that they have a chance. They play better when there's certain teams out there that, you know what, you're like, they're going to beat the Jets. All right, they're going to beat the Falcons. And then what happens? They lay a sticker. I am okay with the idea that the Raiders believe that they're going to get a chip on their shoulder. They believe that they are an underdog. I'm okay with it. And in fact, I like it. Let's go to the next story here on the Raiders Report. And are the Raiders going to end up cutting Tyron Johnson? This one, it's 3 just win babies, and I believe that it's pretty likely. And for all the new watchers out there, like, what the heck are these just win babies? It's a rumor scale, me telling you how likely and not likely I believe something is. So in terms of cutting Tyron Johnson, I didn't have him making my 53-man roster projection. On top of that, I have looked to see what other, we'll call them Raiders content creators, have done and have discussed in terms of making content, and Tyron Johnson often not ends up not making the team. When you look at all the moves that the Silver and Black made this offseason, they added a lot of extra talent at the wide receiver position. Nobody's going to disagree with that. Now, the one thing that Johnson has that maybe certain dudes like DeMarcus Robinson, Clelin Cole, Matt Collins do not have, the legit speed, the legit 4.36 speed, and we know that he's a very good special teams player from top to bottom. When you look at the Raiders' wide receiver depth chart, I can tell you this right now, the Raiders are going to keep Devontae Adams. I know, breaking news. Hunter Renfrow, going to end up making the team. I have DeMarcus Robinson. I have Clelin Cole. I have Matt Collins making it, which ends up being that Tyron is off the list. But let's just say it comes down to these 4 final players here, and you can cut one wide receiver. Whoever you end up cutting doesn't make the team. Do you cut DeMarcus Robinson? Do you cut Clelin Cole, Matt Collins, Tyron Johnson? Type DR for DeMarcus Robinson, MH for Matt Collins, KC for Clelin Cole, or TJ for Tyron Johnson. It's Tyron Johnson for me. If the Raiders decide to keep 6 and you want to have somebody extra for special teams, I get it. I have also said on this show that having Hunter Renfrow back there as a punt returner, as a kick returner, not that he's not good at it, but I don't really want him back there because your chances of injury do go up significantly. So you move on from Johnson, who really did not play at all last season. Sure, in 2020, had 20 grabs, 398 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did this with the Los Angeles Chargers, and he was realistically brought on over because of the whole Henry Ruggs situation. They wanted to have somebody who could be a deep threat. But the numbers that you see right now on screen from 2021, those 2 catches, 16 yards, they were in his 5 games he was with Jacksonville. In the 5 games that he played with the Raiders, yes, he was on the field for special teams, but if he wasn't used last year, and a year that was filled with a whole bunch of drama, and a year that I get that Zay Jones stepped up, but when you look at the Raiders' options last season, Darren Waller's also hurt, and then you look at the options Raiders have this season. If he wasn't used last year, what makes you believe, what makes you confident that the Raiders are going to use him this year? For that reason, it's 3 just win babies that I believe he's going to end up getting cut. Now, if you guys haven't already given me a follow on IG or on Twitter, please make sure you do so. If you want to tag me in something like a video, I love when people watch the Raiders Report. I don't know what crazy game is on my Instagram story now, but somebody's playing, it looks like dominoes with their I don't know, mom, grandmother, aunts, uncles. I'm not sure who it is, but I love seeing that kind of stuff. If you want me to share your stories on my Instagram, all I ask you to do is tag me at Mitchell Renz 365.